to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Before we get into today's episode, I want to let you know that we're doing something a little different over the next several months. We're bringing back the most downloaded, the most talked about episodes from the last 9 years of A Well-Designed Business. These are the episodes that built businesses, that sparked aha moments, that turned you into an action taker. Now, if you're wondering why we're revisiting these episodes and what's changing with the show overall, well, I walk you through the full vision in our April 25th, 2025 episode titled The Big Shift, What's Changing on a Well-Designed Business and Why. That episode is linked for you in the show notes. Now, a quick heads up. These episodes are airing as they originally did. That means the music might sound familiar or it might be vintage. That means the event dates will definitely be out of date that I talk about. And it also means that any offers that are mentioned may or may not be valid still. But the insights, still golden. So whether it's your first time hearing this episode or your fifth time hearing it, there's something in this conversation for you right now in this season of your business. So here's the show. I hope you enjoy it. Hello and welcome back to another episode of A Well-Designed Business. I have a super show for you today, jam-packed with tons of advice surrounding best practices for project management. Susan Brunstrum, principal of Sweet Peas Design, is with me today. Sweet Peas Design is an award-winning full-service interior design studio located in Illinois with clients on the North Shore, Chicago, and beyond. They are known for their livable luxe style, the little black dress of interior design. Susan's firm, in addition to herself, includes 2 senior interior designers, 1 senior architectural associate, an associate designer, and the finance manager. Before she started her firm 12 years ago, Susan ran her own marketing communications firm for 7 years. Susan is a board member for the Design Trust Limited, an exclusive New York-based think tank of interior designers selected from across the country. We are lucky to have her here on the show, as you will learn for yourself in just a few minutes. First, let me tell you about Cravat Inc., our show sponsor. I'm so proud to tell you that our podcast is sponsored by Cravat Inc., featuring CuratedCravat.com. And I know you know this because I know I've told you dozens of times, but I really have been a Cravat customer since 1984. And the truth is, I can't say enough great things about Cravat Inc., except that now there's CuratedCravat.com. At CuratedCravat.com, they work hard to source high-quality items for you and your clients, and they really do make it easy to find that unique piece to complete your interior design projects. And you know what my favorite parts are? It's trade only. That's right. They have your back at Cravat Inc. They have no minimums. Isn't that fabulous? And last, the ordering process is a snap. Design, click, delivered. It's just that simple. Visit CuratedCravat.com today. Hi, Susan. Thank you for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Thank you, Luann. I'm so excited to be here and share whatever information that I can with your audience.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to our interview, and I have been since we arranged it a few weeks ago. The reason for it is because, particularly in the recent weeks, many interior designers have been emailing me, Facebooking me, and different things, reaching out and asking me to have more programs on the financial end of interior design. And you and your firm are particularly qualified to answer and talk to all of us about this. You have a pretty big firm there in Chicago. Your signature line is Livable Luxe, and the tagline that follows it is the little black dress of interior design. So, those things are certainly, I know they have meaning to you. I understand the meaning behind it. But to me, what they say is this is a business person. This is a person who thinks about what she does, how she does it, and how she presents herself. So we're going to concentrate, thankfully, because you're so skilled at it, on the financial end of your business today, even though I'm well aware of the many interior design awards that your firm has earned and your successes in the actual process of interior design. But thank you for agreeing to let me sort of sidestep all of those terrific, accomplishments of yours and ask you to share your expertise in this particular area. So starting off, one of the things that I notice that designers struggle with is that they often will have a client at a first meeting or something, or one of the early meetings, truthfully, and usually before the letter of agreement is signed. They want a ballpark. They want to know, what does a designer think a project or a scope is going to cost? And I noticed that a lot of designers struggle with how to do that. And I understand that you have developed a system where you really break down projects into 6 phases. And that is a tool for you for many parts of the business, but also as a benchmark for ballparking. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, absolutely. We actually have 2 letter of agreements, Luann. One is on an hourly fee basis and one is on a project fee basis. And it's a conundrum in this industry, quite frankly. Some interior designers are hourly based only, others are fee based only, others, like our firm, use a combination based on the size and scope of the project and what is appropriate for it. So if we are on a project fee basis, we have an Excel spreadsheet that breaks down the 6 phases of our business and how we work through a project with a client, and I actually determine the number of hours that project needs by phase. And that then rolls up to the total hours needed for that project. Now, having said that, there's a back door to that because, from a client perspective, if you're paying a project fee, at times you can, how do I want to say this? I don't want to say that they'll take advantage of you, but they feel as though you're at their beck and call because they've paid a project fee versus hourly. They're a little bit more cognizant of your time.
So of their time is what you mean to say.
Yes, excuse
Let's be
me.
real.
Yes, of their time.
Clock ticking.
Yes. So on a project fee basis, you do, if that's how you structure your business or that's how you're structuring that particular project, you do need to have a clause in there that states if the project scope changes or the project is looking like it's going beyond the hours that you had initially agreed to, that there is a way for you to get compensated for additional work. If not, you're putting yourself in too tight of a box, and often you're going to lose money versus be financially sound on that project.
Right. So what you're explaining is that if you have given somebody a project fee for whatever the scope is, you have already taken it apart. Like, you're not just, throwing it out there. You've done a lot of research. You compare other projects and you break it into 6 phases and literally add up. Like, this project will take, 20 hours or 200 hours. And then
Correct.
You, rather than in your letter of agreement, rather than just say, here's your project fee and that information is your back, privy information, you put it out there and you say, I have estimated that this project will be 200 hours, 20 hours, and that's what this project fee agreement is for. So when it goes over, you're completely able to say, hey, we're moving on to a new agreement now. Am I understanding you correctly?
You are, and I'm very transparent. I actually bring the Excel sheet that shows how I calculated the hours and what the hours are for. So we get down to, for example, our second phase is material selections and specifications.
Do me a favor, back up. Why don't you just
Sure.
list for us the 6 phases first, and then you can talk about the different ones within it.
Okay, so our first phase is architectural schematics and floor plans. Our second phase is material selections and specifications. Our third phase is design development. So that's color palettes, furnishings, rugs, lighting, that type of thing. Our fourth phase is construction and/or renovation. Our fifth phase is purchasing and expediting. And our sixth phase is delivery and installation, including accessories. So that's how we break a project apart. Some projects require all six phases, some projects don't. If we're being brought in just for furnishings, then we don't need all six phases. But I'd still like to take the client down the road and have them understand our six phases, simply because often when you start with a client, maybe the initial project isn't all that you do for them. And so if they have a good understanding of what your capabilities are, they may not need you for all six phases immediately, but they may need you down the line for that. For example, they may come to you and say, I have a kitchen renovation. In that case, we may not do hardly any design, window treatments. We may not do any furniture in that breakfast room. We're really concentrating on the kitchen renovation. In another case, we may be called in to furnish a living room, a dining room, the main floor of a home or the whole house. The house may already be in great shape, the bones of it, and we're not needing to do any renovation or construction. So that's why we have the six phases to walk the client through that. We do have a breakdown, an Excel sheet that I do use that we get to the nitty gritty. If we have, for example, cabinet hardware that we're selecting in a newly constructed home, I list the rooms and that we need cabinet hardware for and the amount of time it will take for us to do that. Or plumbing fixtures by room. If we are doing the architectural schematics work or floor plans, I list by room how many plans that we're going to give the client, and then how many hours that's going to take. People don't want pie in the sky numbers. They want actual. They want to see how you got to your number. It makes you more credible and trustworthy. And at the end of the day, that's what's very important to me. I want our clients to know that this is a collaborative relationship. I need information from them, and to be upfront and truthful about that. And they need information from me, and they want me to be upfront and truthful about the information I'm giving to them. And I think this sets the stage. I don't like surprises, and I don't like the client to have surprises. So I'd rather go through all of this information at our letter of agreement meeting. And review all the details. And I'm a real stickler about that, Luann. I will not work with a client, a couple or partners without meeting both of them and having them both be present for our letter of agreement meeting.
It's funny because that at first blush sounds like almost to me that would be obvious, but I guess that it's probably not obvious always. But it's critical because interior design is it can be an expensive project, but it's an emotional project. And I think that's where in the combination of finances mixed with emotion makes it a hot button issue between partners. And therefore, I think it's very smart on your part that you insist that they're both in the meeting so that there's an agreement on what the budget is. And not only that, but what the scope of the project is. And, because, we've all been there where somebody, you're partway through, part of a design plan or whatever. And, the husband's like, wait, we're taking the carpet out. And the wife's like, well, yeah. And he's like, no, we're not. And you're like, yeah, you are, buddy. Carpet's coming out, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So you got to get agreement, with the clients from the beginning on every aspect of it. So, I like the phases, and you have spent a good deal of time, I can see and hear, in estimating the hours based on the phase that it is and the scope of what the individual project is. But you also use this in Do you use it in your initial consultation to budget a project for a client? I'm not talking about, and I know specific, you're going to, once you have, you're going to draft a letter of agreement, you're literally saying, okay, this living room, this phase, 3 hours, 10 hours. But do you use it? I understood you use it to budget a project as well, don't you?
So a couple of things. I only utilize that form if it's a project fee, and typically we only work on a project fee basis if the project is exceptionally well defined. So it's a kitchen renovation or gut, it's a bathroom renovation, it is new construction, and it really has more to deal with the material selections, the architectural piece of it, and or the construction and renovation. I don't typically use a project fee for the furnishings, color palette and accessorizing and that, because there's too many variables in the project. And often the client doesn't know exactly what they want, and we're looking into the possibilities. So a project fee is absolutely wonderful if your parameters are tight, and it assumes that the project will be accomplished in the manner that it's set forth. There's not a lot of room for if this, then that. Okay? There's just not, because otherwise, if you want to run a financially sound business, you're going to lose money. Okay? It only works in that manner. So that's how I describe the different options to a client. An hourly fee allows us to be more flexible and allows the client to determine priorities and change priorities as the project progresses. For example, an hourly fee is great for that client that comes in and says, Susan, I'd really like you to work on our living room and dining room and foyer. We're thinking we may want to keep our dining room table, but we may need new chairs, and I don't like the paint color, and we may want wallpaper, and what do you think about changing the chandelier? And I think we need new carpet over here, and I want window treatments in the living room, and we may need a new foyer chandelier. They don't really know exactly what they want.
Yeah, the details are all loosey-goosey, and they're probably very much dependent on, well, if the chandelier does change, then maybe the wallpaper has to too, but if it doesn't, then that doesn't, or something like that, right?
So you're bringing that expertise. They're paying you for that expertise to say, if we change this, we don't do that. If we do this, we don't do that. So an hourly fee is much better in that manner because you have the flexibility to move the project as it needs to move accordingly, as you're gathering information and getting pricing and making decisions.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
I look at it when I go out on an initial consultation, and by the way, we charge for our initial consultation.
You do.
And if you're not doing that, shame on you. Shame on you.
She said it, not me.
You are taking time away from your existing clients who are paying you good money to go out and meet with a prospective client that you don't know you're going to get work from.
Now, let me ask you something. You're obviously very adamant about this. Is the reason that you're so adamant and stressing it because you find that a lot of your colleagues don't do this?
Correct.
And the problem is that you feel they're not standing in their space. They don't feel they've earned it. They are afraid. What do you think the obstacles are? What are people saying in their head that we need them to understand? Let it get that out of there.
If you don't charge for your time initially, what is that saying about you? That you don't value your business enough to charge for it. And it also sets up the premise that maybe your procedures and your business isn't as tight as it should be. Would you go meet a lawyer and have the lawyer not charge you? Absolutely not. They are paying for your time and expertise and your knowledge. That's the value that you bring. And on that initial consultation, at least I know I give a lot of great information. That's my chance to meet the client, ask questions, listen to the answers, and get a real sense of that client. And is this someone I want to work with? Just as much as they are doing the same thing to me. I mean, that whole feeling, this is the opportunity of where you're really assessing the client. And for me, we look at three areas when we're contemplating a client relationship, and that is trust, respect, and communication. And you need to be able to assess that pretty quickly on that first initial consultation.
Right. If you
So
have the
is this
rapport and you
someone?
expect to be able
Yep.
to achieve these this criteria in the relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think it's of utmost importance, and I'm giving a lot of great ideas at that first consultation because you actually have to. You have to show them that you're creative, you have to show them that you're talented, that you can problem solve, that you can think through things differently than they can. That's why they're hiring you.
It's interesting because I remember years ago, I referred one of our clients to an interior designer in the area because she wanted some, more full-scale work in addition to just window treatments. And it was funny because I remember her, this has got to be 15 years ago, I remember her coming back to me and saying, I'm really having a hard time closing down this client that you referred to me. And I was like, what's going on? And she said, well, the thing is, I went out for the initial meeting and I brought my portfolio, but they kept wanting me to give them ideas on what I thought they should do in the living room, the great room area that they wanted to address. In other words, she was like, they just kept trying to get me to say, would I move this in the kitchen and would I put this there and what would I do? And she goes, and she said, and the thing is, those are my ideas. And they kept saying, well, if you can't really express to us some of your ideas for the space, how will we know if we should hire you? And she said to me, I'm showing them my portfolio. And it was funny because I remember just staring at her thinking, well, if you just gave them a couple of ideas, they would have been impressed and maybe they would have been fine. And I didn't come it from a standpoint of experience or knowledge from what you guys do, but you're saying exactly that. Charge for it so that when you're there, you're earning your money, you're earning your time is, accounted for, but share enough and share quality things so that they can also assess that you are the real deal.
Absolutely. The other thing that we do is we actually, if the client, if it's a mutual agreement to proceed and I put a letter of agreement together and the client hires us, I apply that $500 and give them that time pro bono.
Oh, that's nice of you.
As a
Okay.
gift. Yes.
Okay.
Because
Do they know that going in or do you surprise it with it?
no, they know that going in.
Okay. Okay.
They know that going in.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So they're taking a risk, but they're not taking a huge risk. If they're calling you and spending the time to have the meeting, they're probably halfway on the way to hiring you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And
I like that.
Yeah, and in today's world, they've already vetted you before you've walked
Yeah,
in the
that's
door.
the thing. With the internet, they probably know, what your social security number is before they even get there, let alone what your work is like.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't even bring a portfolio with me. I used to bring my iPad with a video. I used to bring, samples of our work. I don't bring any of that anymore.
No,
We're
it's like-
vetted before we walk in the door.
Yeah, yeah. Now, you said we're going to go back up again to some more specifics on the billing. But before we do that, you said something in this last little conversation here that I wanted to talk about. You described how in that first meeting in the home, you are assessing them for your three criteria of trust, respect, and communication, as much as you believe and understand that they're assessing you for your talent and other qualities. Tell me about what happens what is a red flag and what makes you say, I maybe don't want to pursue this couple or this person as clients? I know that your criteria is those three things, but tell me what happens and how do you handle it? And because I think the easy ones are easy. Everybody knows how to go on a consultation. Everybody knows that when, you love the people and you think they're amazing and you love the project and you love the possibilities, that's easy. But what's the hard part?
So you have to love 2 out of 3 things: their stuff, them, or their home.
Okay.
If you don't like any of those 3, not the client for you. So you have to be excited about the individuals. Are they going to be, do they fit your firm? Do they fit the way, the type of people that you like to work with? And that's different for all of us.
Right.
And what makes them a great fit. Do you like their home? Do you see that you can do wonderful things in that home? And or 3, do you like their stuff? Because we always start with their stuff. It's very rare that you get a naked home, right? Everybody has belongings and they start with those. And so you have to like 2 out of those 3 things. Is one area, like one little criteria that I look at. The other thing is I really pay attention and listen to the client. I ask questions that gets them talking not just about their home, but about themselves. So I get a better feeling of how they make decisions, why they make decisions, where they're at in their life, why are they bringing us in to make the changes that they want to make, just to get a better understanding of them. Because quite frankly, other than the purchase of a home, the furnishing and or renovating the interior of your home is really your second biggest expense. And a lot of people don't realize that. And the mutual selection of working with a designer and a design firm is vastly important. It's so personal that I would rather walk away from a project that I don't feel will be a good fit and recommend another designer than spend my time kind of beating my head against the wall if the project goes through and it's not a wonderful experience for both of us, because it should be. It should be. So finding the right client that fits your business is really important. And I think when people are starting out in this business, they're afraid to say no, so they take everyone. Well, but if you take somebody that's wrong for you, you miss the opportunity of the next great client that's the perfect fit. So you do have to be selective. You should be selective. And I say that to clients, or potential clients. I may not be the right person for you, and that's okay. I'm happy to give you other people as referrals, other designers that could be. You don't want to be everything to everyone.
I agree, except that I really want to just press back to you on it for a moment, because I have the same experience, and I remember it being a process, for lack of a better word, and a coming almost like a coming awake during the process of running and owning a business, where it finally was like, okay, you don't need every single client out there. You need the ones that are a good fit. Agreed. 100% agreed. But talk to us about that learning curve and that process of coming into the space, because it is absolutely true. Your first probably 5 to 8 years in business is my guess, that it's very hard to walk away from the projects that aren't right for you. And I will just say one more thing before I let you answer the question. For me, my experience, when I'm going to engage with a client, it could be literally an hour and a half on the front end and an hour and a half on the back end and 3 phone calls in the middle, and the front and the back end are a month apart. Or it could be at most a 2 to 3, 4 week process on the front and then, the back end installation. I'm not in there, in their bedroom, in their living room, in their kitchen, in the middle of their marriage, in the middle of their relationships, for months. And so when I have delayed the decision to just say, yeah, not this one, walk away, it's, for me, the risk isn't as high because the engagement isn't as long. But I believe that interior designers need to stand in that space and recognize that way sooner in their career in order to be profitable. So tell us a little bit about, it's one thing to tell us the advice, tell us about the experience of it, tell us about really truly coming to that decision and how you come to it and how you say to the client, no, not happening.
Okay. and listen, I'm not going to tell you that we haven't made our mistakes.
Oh, of course. Well, that's how you learn.
Yep. We've gotten down the road with clients. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that. We've gotten down the road with clients and they're not necessarily the right ones. So I take each of those experiences and I try to learn from them.
That's the point. Having done that, that's why you know you have to do it.
Right.
So yes, go ahead.
So, what went wrong? Where did we take that turn? Where did the relationship not get to where it needed to, and why did that happen? Most often it occurs because the discussion on budget has not been addressed early enough. And it truly is. And it's really because many clients have never done a project that they're asking you to participate in and be part of, right? So they don't really understand what the costs involve could be or are. That's your job as the designer with your years of experience to say, hey, you're telling me that you want to do this kitchen for $25,000? Can't do that. Have you looked at appliances lately? You could spend that on appliances, So it's your job as the designer in that initial consultation to help educate the client and have them understand a project of this nature, could be here or here, and give a range. That's not locking you in. That's not saying we've agreed on a budget,
right? But
do you understand that it could be to this level? I'll give you a perfect example. We just are working with a couple on a master bathroom and a hall bathroom. And we sat down and went through the letter of agreement, and they had some questions, and they said, okay, well, if we budget $40,000, will that be enough for this project? And I said, no, it won't be. You have a full gut bathroom in your master. We're looking at moving all your plumbing around, and we have your hall bath. I said, it really won't be enough. I said, in my experience, I would feel comfortable if you told me you had $75,000 to $80,000. And they said, okay, great, we'll do that. But if I hadn't had that conversation with them, they would have thought they could get those bathrooms done at a lot lesser price point. And then as we started to make selections and the numbers were coming together, they wouldn't have been happy. And the project
and you know what, not for nothing, but you wouldn't have either been, because if you just said, here's what could have easily happened with a less experienced interior designer. They could have really understood that 40,000 was too low, but not had the confidence to say that it's too low, and said, well, okay, we could see, and then chase their own tail for the next several weeks trying to source products that are lower priced, that get into the budget, which ultimately won't get into it all the way, because you're talking about literally half the budget practically. And it doesn't serve either one of you. It doesn't serve you or the client to not have the big girl conversation at the beginning.
Right. You absolutely have to have it. The other conversation that absolutely has to be had is timing. In our world of everybody wanting everything tomorrow, practically just-in-time inventory, I find that, again, you have to educate the client as to how long a project will take and what's realistic.
But you have to have that locked down too. You can't, look, we're listening to you. You're obviously clearly experienced, but you have to, I feel like what I'm hearing from you is that you have evaluated, each or most projects after the fact to say, this is what went well, this is what didn't went well. Yeah, this is how long it took, this is what this, so that when you go into the next one, and to your point now, be real about the timing. That's it. Be real about it. Don't say, oh, yeah, I could do this in a month when you know it's 6. And don't say it's 6 if it's 3. And don't say it's 3 and it is 3 and take 6. How about that?
I totally agree. Totally agree. I'm going to parlay onto something you just said. After every client project, we run a client P&L. I know many firms that don't do that, and if you don't, again, you should be. You shouldn't be looking at your financials just by your categories. You should be looking at them as well by client. You should be able to run a client P&L if you're an hourly or project fee, as well as what your gross revenue was, what your cost of goods was. You can also take a look at how many hours were put in by your staff. You should do all of that to see how profitable that client was, because you don't want to take another project on if you weren't profitable that's similar.
Right. And it's funny because we do that at Window Works. Of course, the project is, way, 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 way less scope, but we actually do look at the net profit on each project when it's done. What percentage? My husband and I compete with each other, on our net net profit on jobs, and we calculate it at the end of the year, and we just we razz each other. So, but it is the point. You can't run a business if you don't know how much you're earning on the project. And that, like you said, like we talk about, well, we took on this sort of project and, it cost this much money and these many hours of labor and this, that. And when the next one comes along, well, sometimes we look at each other and we go, pass, we didn't make enough money on it last time. That's not our kind of job. We're not set up for that. That's, not in our wheelhouse, say, So I agree. That's great advice. I love that. So do you do that with because you have a finance manager? Do you do that only with the finance manager, or do you incorporate that with your other designers so that everybody learns the tool and learns the process and knows how to evaluate?
I don't actually go over the numbers with my team. I do that with my financial manager, but we do have a team meeting at the end of the project to talk about what went well and what didn't go well. Right, I also take all of our clients to lunch or dinner and discuss our relationship and what went well, what didn't, what would they offer as constructive criticism, because I feel we're only as good as our last client, and the last clients are the ones that are our potential referrers, and they can also become our advocates, and they want to help you. You've been in their life for a long time. It's very personal, as you said. They become friends with you. In fact, there's often that how do you maintain the friendship but also the professionalism?
Yeah, we talked about that with Marlena Tice just a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, how do you do that? So I always take our clients to dinner and or lunch at the end of a project and have that discussion with them. And I learn a lot, and we have made many business practice changes because of valuable input from our clients.
That's a significant commitment. That's a significant commitment to do that.
It is, but they've made a significant commitment to us, and we've made a significant commitment to them to work together.
Yeah, that's a great learning tool. So you go ahead, tell us. You're going to give us a specific?
Oh, well, I'll give you a specific. So one of the things that we changed about a year and a half ago in our letter of agreement is how we handle freight and delivery. We used to bill freight and delivery as a pass-through cost, and it would be billed at the end of the project after we'd been billed from our delivery company or freight company. Clients hated it. They thought they were done paying, and then here comes that bill, right? They hated it. So, and I kept getting like, I hate when I get that bill, and even if you layer in versus the big reveal, they're still, they still get that. So I started asking clients, well, what would work? What would be better?
How do you expect me to do it?
How do you, right. What would what would help that? And they said, why don't you charge us a percentage that covers that covers the bill, and it's included when we pay the invoice for the actual product. So we moved to that. So I charge a percentage of the product for freight and delivery.
Yeah, because they would rather it be, not necessarily accurate to the penny than an afterthought and an after invoice. They recognize if it's a percentage, it's, some cases might be higher, some cases might be lower, but it feels better for them.
And it's also less painful.
Right.
They pay it right when they're paying for the item or the service. And so they're great with it. That has helped us tremendously from a client relationship perspective, but it's also helped us from a cash flow perspective. Yeah. You're gathering the money up front. And that's something that I think you really need to take a look at your cash flow when you're making new decisions or changes for your business. Yeah. Another thing that we just recently did as well, some firms take a deposit on everything. 50% across the board. Others get 100% up front. I've never been able to do that until recently. What we decided, again, I met with clients and said, we're trying to limit our paperwork for you and for us. And by charging a 50% deposit on everything, if we're getting a light fixture or a sconce and it's $500 and I'm charging you $250 for the deposit and then the balance, and that's a lot of paperwork, back and forth. No. And we're trying to streamline for them, for us. So again, asked clients, and they said, why don't you come up with a number that feels comfortable, that is comfortable for you, and would be a number that we could live with, that we pay 100% on for most items, and then others we pay a balance on. So we came up with $5,000. So any item that is, or service that is $5,000 or under, we get 100% payment.
Okay.
Any item that's $5,000 or more, then they pay a deposit on.
Okay. And it works for you.
And that's the balance. It works for us, but also it's great cash flow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
so you've got to think of those things.
Yeah. I mean, and you know what? I knew this was going to happen. I knew you were going to bring so much value and the conversation would be so great. And here I am. I didn't break for Kravit. Oh. So give me a second and I'm going to tell everybody about Kravit Inc. And then we're going to cover a couple of things that you're talking about that I want to go further into. Hang on. Our sponsor for today's episode is Kravit Inc., featuring CuratedKravit.com. CuratedKravit.com is a trade-only resource for all of your interior design needs, from furniture to accessories. Their platform is so comprehensive, offering the finest in furniture, floor covering, lighting, wall decor, bedding, and much more. Fabulous products that you won't find every day. With CuratedKravit.com, your business just got easier. The process is so simple and the results are unbeatable. Just design, click, and your items will be delivered right to you. You can also browse the many beautiful room designs which have been curated for you by esteemed interior designers such as Nate Berkus, Jonathan Adler, and Alexa Hampton, to name only a few. I use CuratedKravit.com for my clients, and I love the results. Remember, design, click, delivered with CuratedKravit.com by Kravit Inc. Okay, so we're back. So it's interesting because you were just talking about the cash flow, how the doing that new billing practice of under $5,000 you collect in full, and over $5,000 you collect a 50% and then the balance on delivery. So here's what you said, and this is what I want to make sure that is clear. That does create cash flow, but it is imperative then that that cash flow is there and it's allotted and it's accounted for accurately, because you might be collecting 100% of, a sofa or a lamp or whatever that you're not going to deliver for 6 months. And you got to have that money in the checking account because you're not, you've collected all your money. So that puts a very high onus on clear paperwork.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And to that end, I just wanted to hop back up to the top of our discussion a little bit and just take just a few moments, because I am taking a lot of your time, but this is amazing information. When we originally talked about your two different structures for fees, whether it was project or hourly, what I would love you to do is just take a few moments and describe the systems in your office, that because you have multiple designers working for you. It's not like you're just accountable for yourself, your own hours in your own parts of the project. So take a little bit and give us some information on how you systemize it within your business and record keep a project in your business.
Okay. We use Studio Webware.
Okay.
And we've been using it for, I think, about 3 years now. Prior to that, we were on QuickBooks. So we do have processes and procedures to get a project through the organization. And the bigger your firm, the tighter your processes need to be, because it's not just you touching all the paperwork.
Right.
So we have a selection sheet that we utilize that has the photo and the pricing and the information on it that goes to the client. And then we have backup paperwork. It's an Excel document that we use that shows the net and then the profitability. Once a client has approved a particular item, that all of that paperwork will then go down to our financial manager and our purchasing manager to be purchased. And then we start utilizing Studio Webware. So we don't use Webware to its fullest. We are trying to integrate that in the next 6 months because it can handle all that front end. We just haven't utilized it yet to its fullest capabilities, but we're getting there.
Okay. And
it's a work in progress.
Yeah. Well, everything is, right. And how about everybody accounting for their hours? Do you do it in real time? How do you guys do that on a project?
So we do that on 15-minute increments, and that they put my staff all puts their time into Webware, and our Webware time billing is broken down into our 6 phases.
Okay.
So my team is required to put their time in based on the phase that they're working on. So if they're working in the material selections phase and they're selecting tile or plumbing, that's where that goes. If they're working on furniture selections or fabric selections, then that goes into the 3rd phase. If my architect associate is on CAD and drawing floor plans and architectural schematics, and that goes into phase 1. So we have these very specific phases that are part of the letter agreement, but that's also how I know at the end of the project how many hours we've billed or how many hours we've spent by phase.
Right, so that you can continue to adjust and tweak your future price presentations, your future budget presentations based on it. It's like, wait, I keep thinking it takes 6 hours for phase, 3, and actually it's constantly 12 hours or whatever the scenario is. You're evaluating it and making adjustments.
Correct.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, talk to me for just a moment. If you were a solo designer out there, I mean, it's as imperative, right? I mean, I feel like that's the breakdown, that maybe in a solo situation, they feel like, well, it's all me. I'm making all the money. I'm doing all the work. I don't need to track it. But that's not correct, is it?
No, it's not correct at all. Again, how do you know if you're taking on the right clients for you and if you're profitable and if that client was profitable? In fact, I think your first hire, if you're a solo practitioner, mine was my financial manager.
Right. Get
yourself out of the financial end of it, because that's often what you're doing late at night, and you put it off, right?
Yeah.
Because you're creative and you're excited about the project and you want to solve the problem, and you want to show that window treatment fabric and that window design, and you want to show that, chair and fabric on it. But at the end of the day, you have to be profitable or you can't keep growing your business.
Exactly. So this is, an insane amount of great advice within your conversation, and I appreciate it. And the truth is, if neither one of us had anything to do, I know that we could go for 3 more hours, because there isn't anything I ask you that you're like, I don't know that. So I love that. Thank you. But
you're welcome.
To wrap it up, I just want to touch on the other aspect of your business, which has been a philosophy of yours that I understand that you're recently tweaking a little bit, but for good reason. You have a particular background in advertising. This was your career before interior design, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So what's interesting to me is that and I know that, it's interesting to me that despite a successful career in advertising, that you have spent most of your efforts and your dollars in building your firm with PR, focused on PR as opposed to advertising. So tell us the philosophy behind that and tell us why it's worked for you and tell us about the changes coming.
Absolutely. So I have built the business on public relations because others are speaking for you versus advertising, you're promoting yourself. And again, this business is so personal that having the recommendation of others, it's no different than a referral, right? From an existing client referring you to someone else. Mm-hmm. When you see work published in a magazine, or you see work published in a newspaper, others are doing the speaking for you when it's public relations. Otherwise, you're advertising yourself. So we have always built our business on PR because of that, because of the collaborative nature of this business and the referral and the advocacy of it. And that is someone else advocating for you. We've recently started advertising, and I'm actually quite thrilled by it. And the reason that we're doing it is I personally moved to the city of Chicago 2 years ago, and my firm is up in Libertyville still. And as we are getting more and more clientele in Chicago, I wanted to kind of launch our brand in the city. And so I had very specific reasons for starting to advertise, but we are advertising locally in Chicago, not nationally. And that brings me to another little tidbit, I guess, of information on PR. I have found, the goal always, right? Everybody says, oh, I want to be published in a national publication in a shelter magazine. I want to be in Elle Decor. I want to be in Arc Digest or whatever. I have made a very conscientious effort in our from a PR perspective in starting local and launching locally and really getting to know the editors and the publishers of our local publications, because that's going to drive your business.
Right, because you're more likely to get, not that designers don't have clients from out of state and out of town and so forth, but, your bread and butter is coming from your 25, 35 mile radius. Yeah.
It is. It absolutely is. And I think everybody goes for that. Oh my gosh, that's my goal, right? Yeah. I really want that. I'm not so sure I want that.
Yeah. I mean, that's nice to have as a feather, but not something as a true business builder.
Correct. And I don't think you can count on it. You need to, like you scale your business, you need to look at your PR and your marketing efforts and as to how you're scaling in steps. So it's starting out small and then adding to that and chunking that is really important. And so for us, it's worked.
Yeah. And you, do I understand correctly that you literally, where other businesses, whether they're interior design or other, will start out the gate from baby business investing in advertising, you invested in PR from the baby business. It wasn't like, okay, now I'm in business 10 years and people are starting to know me, let me capitalize on it. This was your philosophy and this is how you built the business.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. And I've been fortunate. We've had a PR consultant with us for 7 years, and she and I are very synergistic. So it's been wonderful, and the business has grown accordingly because of that.
Yeah. I
have a plan, like anything. No different than having a strategic plan, a marketing plan. I have a PR plan. We're very specific in what we do. It's not willy-nilly and it's not loosey-goosey. Just like our letter of agreement isn't, you have to be buttoned down. People are spending a lot of money with you. They need to feel like you're above board, you're trustworthy, you're honest, all of that. And having all these pieces really allows for that.
Yeah, I love it. It's very comprehensive, and it's clear to me that you are giving due thought to every process that it takes to have a profitable business. And of course, the results are there. And I love talking with smart people that do things well.
Thank you. Well, it's funny. People say to me, "What do you do?" And I say, and my typical response is, "I'm principal of a firm." Oh,
Yeah.
what type of firm? An interior design firm. I don't lead the conversation, but when someone says, "So what do you do for a living?" I rarely say I'm an interior designer. No, I'm a business owner.
I love
I
that.
lead a firm. My firm is design.
I love that. And you know what? It's so true.
true.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, how many times have you been at a situation and you ask somebody, what do you do? Oh, I run a company, or I, have a company and such. They, it's only like the design field that everybody starts with. I'm a designer, and you're right. It's a different spin on the reality of it. Yeah, I love
Absolutely.
it. Okay, everybody out there, you're principals of a firm.
Yep, absolutely.
Love it, love it, love it. So before you go, tell me, we are in, this, of course, podcast is evergreen, and somebody might listen to this in 3 months or 2 years. But right now, in real time, it's graduation season. And tell us, for somebody who does have a successful firm and has had 2 different career paths and all of the knowledge that you've earned, give me something that you would say to interior design students coming out of school looking for that job and performing in their first job.
So I'd say 2 things in response to that, Luann. One is, if you have not taken business classes, you absolutely positively must, because you may want to run your own firm one day. And if you have not gotten enough of that background in your, in wherever you've been going to school, then you absolutely must do that. Key, take night classes, go to the local college, whatever that is, but you absolutely have to do that to be able to run a firm.
Do that.
Absolutely. Second is, have patience. You are not going to start out, interviewing clients, being on site on a daily basis, designing a room from start to finish. You're not going to do that.
It's a few
Why?
years.
You don't have enough experience. I can't. So many of the young designers that I've interviewed, have said, "Well, I just want to get started right away." You don't know my business. Yeah. You don't know our clientele. You don't know how the business is run.
You don't even know what you don't know.
No, right. So be patient, constantly be a sponge, learn, absorb. Don't think anything is beneath you. It takes a lot of hard work. Listen, I started my business without ever having worked for another interior designer. If you don't think I had a learning curve, I had a huge one. I made a ton of mistakes, and that's okay. Yeah. But, they're so eager and so anxious, and that's what I love. And they're so technology friendly.
I know.
However, so much of our business is relationship oriented, and it's also communication, to be able to be confident in yourself, to sit across the table from an individual and absolutely tell them with all assurance that, yes, they should spend $25,000 on that chandelier. Can you do that when you're
with
coming
a straight
out of school?
face?
With a straight face? I'm not so sure you can, right?
Exactly.
So you've got to kind of develop that. You've got to develop that sense of self. And a good firm will help you do that.
It's funny because I sort of hit you with that question, and you literally almost said, at least 3 points that Kim Seraphin, I was on the show a week ago, and I interviewed her specifically because she's an employee that's worked for me for 8 years. And she was maybe her 3rd year out of school when she came to work for me. So like we all know, that's like a baby designer, right? And she did exactly those things. And I know I loved her from the day I met her. And, every week and every month that went by, she just more and more impressed me. And when she came here, I said to her, what was the deal? What were you thinking? And she said, know your place, know your time will come. All of these things, learn from the person who's teaching you, all the things that you just said. I love it.
Well, and I think there's this sense that 80% of your time is going to be spent on it will be creative. It's not.
No, yeah.
It's not. It's almost 20%.
Yeah.
The rest
I've had
of it
designers
is
tell me
gathering
it's 10 and
information.
5.
Right. I mean, you've got to gather that information. You've got to check your pricing. You've got to set up your meetings. You've got to schedule. There's so much of the detail work that goes into it that, the actual selections and specifications don't take as much time as the rest of it.
Yeah.
And I think young designers don't often recognize that.
Right. It's the big surprise.
Well, and dotting your I's and crossing your T's is vastly important. Again, it goes back to that setting up the expectations with the client and that getting them to trust you. If you make a mistake on your pricing, who's eating that? Mm-hmm. I'm not going to go back to a client and say, oh gosh, I had a young designer and she made a mistake. And that $4,000 sofa is really $5,000. Yeah. No, I'm not going to do that. So you learn from all that, and it's important.
Yeah, it's awesome. I agree 100% with that advice, and I love it. I love that you look, you're a smart lady. I hit you with every single question without any pre-knowledge of what they were going to be, and you just hit it out of the park, and I truly thank you. I know, like I said a few moments ago, I'm sure if I kept asking you questions, we'd keep getting value, but I'm aware of your time and I do value it. And I do appreciate you so much spending it with me here on the show today. Thank you so much, Susan.
Thank you, Luann. I've really enjoyed it. And if you'd like to do this again, you just let me know. I'll happy to do so.
All righty. Sounds great. Thanks.
Right.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Wow, I'm not sure where to start in recapping all of Susan's savvy advice. So let's take one, her system of dividing every project into 6 phases. I like that one. Now, maybe you're thinking it's not so unusual, but then I ask you, do you employ it to the level of detail that Susan does? She breaks down every project into the 6 phases, documents all the variables that go into each phase, estimates the hours to complete each phase, and then she presents the project fee to her clients with the hard facts to back her up. And the most important part, the part where many business owners fall down, she then reevaluates the project at completion, comparing what she projected it would cost against what it actually cost. With an analysis process like this, she is able to constantly tighten up her proposals because she is consistently reviewing her data in real time. Susan isn't guessing what each project she bids will cost her. She knows what it will cost. And as she put it, people don't want pie-in-the-sky numbers. They want actual numbers, and they want to see how you got to those numbers. This is what makes you credible and trustworthy. My goodness, Susan did share so much more than this. So please go on over to www.windowworks-nj.com/Susan B. I made a list of her best tips for you. And since I forgot to ask Susan to give us her contact info, if you'd like to reach out to her, her website is www.sweetpeas-inspired.com. Thanks so much for joining me. Have a great day. My great thanks to the sponsor of our podcast, Cravat Inc., featuring CuratedCravat.com. CuratedCravat.com is your go-to resource for the finest in lighting, bedding, pillows, rugs, and so much more. Do yourself a favor and visit CuratedCravat.com today to see what I'm talking about. And when you're there, be sure to get on the Kravit Inc. email list so that you get all the latest news about all the newest pieces, which are constantly being added for you to use on your interior design projects. You can also see the gorgeous inspiration rooms curated by leading interior designers. And once you try it, wait until you experience the simplicity of the ordering process. Design, click, delivered. It really is that easy. I know you'll be as big a fan as I am. See it for yourself at curatedkravit.com. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of Luann Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or Luann University, go to luannnigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to windowworksnj.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.